All right, welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. We are back at it. We have a wonderful new brand for me, at least I should say, new to the channel, new brand for myself as well as several of my patrons joining tonight. But let's see who we have in the comments. Let's see, we have some folks just kind of getting kicked on here. Let's see who we have. Drop a comment. Let me know who you are and what you are sipping tonight. So, what's in your glass? What you got in the glass there, Tyler? What's in the glass? Let's see what you got. What are you drinking tonight? We'd love to see what you're drinking tonight. Hopefully, you have some West Fork in your glass or a Old Hammer. Let's see what you got, Tater Don. What do you got there? What's in your glass tonight? Love to know. Cheers to you as well, by the way. Should give you a cheers as well. Cheers to you, Tater Don. Good to see you as always. Always a pleasure. See who else we have in the chat. Who else is who's in tonight, and also what are you sipping? So while we're waiting for everyone to kind of jump in here, I'm excited for tonight. I am extremely excited. We have a couple of people on tonight. So we have first and foremost, we have our guest on, which is our good friend and owner of West Fork Whiskey Company, which is Blake. So we have Blake on, and we also have Gil and Mike, who are patrons from the Bourbon Judge community. So really excited to kick us off. But let's just see who we have in the chat, and then we'll bring on our special guest. What's going on, CJP? How are you, Corey? Good evening to you as well, my friend. Little Green River. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I see Tater Dom has a little some Maker's Mark. Can't go wrong with a good Maker's Mark. A little bit of weeded. Good to see you. Good evening to you. Right back at you. Right back at you. All right, let's go ahead and kick it off. So I'm really excited for tonight. So I was telling the story, and I'm going to tell the story before I bring on our special guest. I was in Kentucky a few months ago doing a barrel pick, and I saw West Fork Whiskey Company in stores. I saw it in some like bars or restaurants, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this brand. I'm seeing these bottles, cool bottle designs, right? Look really cool, but I've never heard of the brand before. So I was like, all right, mental note. As soon as I get back home, it is my time to do a little research on West Fork Whiskey Company. I get home, literally, it must have been 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, so 2 to 3 days later. I get an email from someone from West Fork, like one of I think he's like the VP of like the brand manager, if you will, gentleman by the name of Alex. He's like, hey, Judge, are you interested in learning more about West Fork Whiskey Company? So I'm sitting there thinking, is this guy in my head? Like, like, how did he know I was thinking about West Fork Whiskey Company 3 days before? Never talked to him. And so here we are tonight, right? So really excited. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest real quick. Let me bring on first our patron, Gil. Gil, how are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Gil, why don't you let everyone know where you are joining us from tonight? Where are you at, Gil?
I'm joining you guys from Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. Good old Atlanta. You have some great whiskey down in Atlanta as well. So you have it made, I would think.
Yep, stone's throw away.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and bring on our next patron, our good friend Mike. What's going on, Mike? How are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Mike, where are you joining us from tonight?
I am in the great state of West Virginia. I'm just outside of the D.C. metro area.
Awesome. So you have access to everything. West Virginia, D.C., Maryland, and PA. So you have whiskey you're surrounded by whiskey.
Yep, and I work in all those states. So,
Oh, that's awesome. That is good stuff.
Fun for bourbon hunting.
Fun for bourbon hunting. Absolutely.
Yes.
Fun for bourbon hunting. Good stuff, Mike. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring on our special guest, one of the owners at West Fork Whiskey Company. I'm extremely excited to bring on Blake and learn a little bit more about West Fork Whiskey Company. All right. Let's go ahead and bring on Blake.
What's up, y'all?
Blake,
how we doing?
How
Blake?
are you?
Good.
How have you been, my friend?
Excited to be here tonight. Have some bourbon. It's been a long couple days for me, so I'm excited to share some pours with everybody tonight.
Absolutely. So Blake shared with us that he has, was it 2 kids under 3? Is that right?
Twin 2.5-year-olds.
Oh, twin 2.5 years old. Oh gosh. So you deserve to be drinking almost on a daily basis.
And my wife is sick. My nanny's sick. So the last couple of days between trying to keep up with work and handling the girls, I'm glad the girls are down and I'm enjoying some bourbon.
Good for you. Good for you, Blake. That is awesome. That is so cool. Well, Blake, that's honestly the story that I gave when I opened up. I mean, that's a true story. I mean, straight up. I mean, you want to talk about like perfect timing. I don't know if Alex has like, mind control over people, but if he just like knows like lottery numbers, he can share that with me as well, because he obviously knows what's going on inside of people's brains, which is crazy. But that worked out very well.
Yeah, I mean, timing is everything, right? That's what people say.
Indeed. Absolutely. Well, I want to open it up. Like, if you don't mind, tell everyone about West Fork Whiskey Company. Like, I would love to know the history of like the company, how you guys got started, why, a little bit of everything. I'll turn over to you to kick it off.
Absolutely. So, I'll make it as short and as sweet as I can, but, interrupt me, ask questions. I get really excited sometimes when I'm chatting with people. So, sometimes I interrupt with folks. Oh, hey, shout out Dan, Twin Boys. Good luck, brother. So, we started this company in 2014 on paper. 2015 started distilling on nights and weekends. So we've been around for a while now. The thing about us is, whiskey is a long game, as everybody knows, right? I mean, it takes a while to cultivate a good product. So we cash our 401ks, we max out some credit cards, we guaranteed some loans while we're still working our corporate jobs, doing this nights and weekends. And, our kind of stick is we're hell-bent on creating uniquely Indiana and Midwestern bourbon and whiskey. And so what that means for us is very corn-forward products, right? When folks think about Indiana, what do y'all think about?
I'll let you guys go first.
Maybe racing,
yeah,
maybe basketball, right? Yep. I mean, those are always the most common answers. Corn's first, then maybe racing or basketball, and then it's the other one if you don't get the other one. So, we really want to capitalize on that identity. I mean, you want to talk about limestone? Indiana has the most limestone in the world. We have the best limestone in the world. It built, a lot of DC. It built the Empire State Building, et cetera. You want to talk about temperature fluctuations? I mean, shit. Yeah. We get some of the hottest summers and the coldest winters here. And so between those three, corn, temperature fluctuations, good hard line, some water, and falling in love with the spirit, we said, you know what, let's try to do this. And so my brother and my childhood best friend literally started doing it on the nights and the weekends. We wanted to come up with a unique process, not a Me Too product. And so that's what we kind of set out to do. So we started on a 50-gallon still on the northwest side of Indianapolis in an industrial zone, literally spending, let's say there are 48 hours in a weekend, we would spend 20 to 30 hours at this place. Wow. 50-gallon still, plastic fermenters, these little steel drum mash tuns, like just trying to figure it out. And that's how we started. And then from there, we figured out after some tasting and some people out of Louisville and some folks locally who are pretty connected in the industry and own a bunch of liquor stores. We figured out we could make some decent distillate. And so we said, you know what, let's start maybe doing this and take it really seriously instead of just being a hobby. This would have been 15, 16. And so what we did next is we opened up a little tasting room in 2016 in the near north side of Indianapolis. So, about a mile from the Circle, if anybody's been to Indianapolis before. Won a bunch of awards out of the gate locally in terms of like running a cocktail bar. And shit, you're talking about like a year-old juice, right? Like it's not going to be right. It's going to be young. There could be some good qualities to it, but unlike a lot of startup distilleries at the time, we didn't have a source brand, and we weren't making vodka, gin, liqueurs. And so we had to make some money to pay some bills. So we were just putting out good corn liquor, really young bourbon. And that's how we got started. And after about 2017, 2018, we knew, okay, like guys, if we're ever going to make any money in this thing and it's going to survive, like we got to scale up. And so we went from that, 50 to 274 gallon still, and then a 600-gallon still, and then started producing on that thing quite a bit. Brought on some investors sort of in like 17, 18, and we realized, man, this still isn't enough if we want to expand in other markets. And so brought on some more investors because I was 28 years old. My we're all young. We didn't have a lot of money, so we borrowed as much money from the banks as we could, maxing out as many credit cards as we could, right? And we started planning a tourism distillery and an actual production asset and a scalable platform that we could really grow from. And
awesome.
So this would have been finally found some land in 19. COVID hit in 2020. Our developer backed out. But in 2022, fast forward, we opened a large scale distillery that now sees 200,000 people a year. And we're in growth mode over the last couple of years. So we signed a multi-state contract with our distributor. And we've won best craft whiskey in the world at international whiskey competition. We just had this Hugh Hamer Double Oak rated 99 points out of 100 at San Francisco. I mean, we've won a bunch of awards now over the last few years, and we're really trying to just tell our story more and meet good people.
Awesome.
And so that's kind of where we are. But it's all corn forward product done in a little bit unique way. We're not using, if we're sourcing, we're not using the 2 or 3 traditional MGP mash bills, right? The 95.5, the 21% rye, or the 36% rye. We capitalize on a 99% corn mash bill on the source side, and then on our own side, and I'm sure I'll talk about it a little bit more after I give folks a break from hearing my voice for a second. We capitalize on some different production techniques, and we think those are starting to pay benefits as our products are hitting 4 and 5 years old now. And we're starting to expand. So that's a lot kind of packed into a few minute period. But yeah, I mean, hell bent on creating great Indiana corn forward bourbon. That's
awesome. That is awesome. That is great. All right. Well, I'm ready for some whiskey, and then we'll get to some of these questions in chat. I saw really a question there as well, and I had the same question too. So let's go ahead and dive into some whiskey because I'm thirsty big time. So what are we sipping first, Blake?
So we're going to start with West Fork Whiskey's Weeded Bottle and Ball. So I don't have everything you guys have in front of you, but I have most of it. Again, my family's been kind of sick recently, and so I didn't have time to grab certain things from the distillery over the last couple of days, so I apologize. I have all but 2 that you guys may be trying tonight, depending on who you are. And so our weeded, so things about weeded, you guys know a shit ton about bourbon. Hell, most of you guys have probably tasted more bourbon than I have at this point because I'm so single focused. I mean, don't get me wrong, I drink plenty of other people's bourbon because I just love bourbon, right?
Yeah, of course.
But weededs typically come off like a Weller sweet or like a grainy kind of grassy field wheat. And I know that's not a technical term, right? We're talking about fantasies here in La La Land and just trying to describe things or like Maker's Mark, right? Yeah, this is a really good middle ground. This product, you get enough proof so it stands up, right? So you will get some depth and maybe some spice from the proof, but you also get some of that corn wheat sweet and maybe a little bit of that kind of wet wheat or like field wheat from the grain. So it's a really nice complex bourbon. It's still sweet. It's still high enough proof for those folks that are proof heads. But it's a really good balance between some nice complicated depth on the grain side and some nice sweetness from the corn and the wheat side.
Yeah, I like this. It's nice. It's it does have like almost like a sweeter kind of a note. What do you guys think, Gil and Mike? What do you guys think of this one so far?
That's pretty. Whenever I have like something that's corn heavy, when it comes to whiskey, I always think of, I don't even know if they still make them, but those honeycomb cereal. But it's like honeycomb cereal. That's
the Honey Crisp or whatever it was.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The honeycomb cereal. I remember that.
That shit was good.
Yeah, that's what the good.
Gotcha. You're cut up a little bit, Gil, but I think we got you though for sure. Mike, what about you? What do you think of this wheat at one versus like traditional wheats across the board?
I mean, it's got, you could taste the sweetness of the wheat in there and everything like that. The nose is really, I mean, it's just a really good smelling whiskey as far as on the nose. It really, some sweetness there, some not getting some traditional bourbon notes, but definitely some sweetness.
Yeah, it almost has like a fruity kind of a note to it in a way.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has like a fruity kind of a note to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
We do two different things with our production techniques that are super unique from my perspective. Is we do a no boil long steeping mash. So we're not bringing water up to a boil. We're not pressure cooking. It's a longer, slower steeping process. We're trying to get as much grain flavor back into the product as we can. So this allows still a decent amount of sugar in the mash, because obviously that's what cooking and mashing is about. And then our fermentation process, we do a hybrid sour mash. So it's not a traditional sour mash. It's kind of a combo between a sweet and a sour. And the purpose of that is to start sweet and end sour. So we're not like a sweet mash. You would say like 2-3 days, maybe 4, but that's probably too long for a sweet mash. And so, we're starting like a sweet, more like in line with the sweet mash, but then we're letting it go 7 days. And so it gets some of those sour components that you can taste a little bit on the mid to back palate. At least I can. And that's what brings out those kind of citrus and fruit components with that corn sweetness.
I like that.
And we're going to taste, even though it's all corn forward, this journey we're going to go through, you're going to taste a lot of different stuff. The combo we sent out is pretty cool.
Okay, that's awesome. So I got a good question for you. Actually, this game's not even for me, but I thought about it earlier, and I'm glad Gandy Road, my good friend Gandy Road, aka Ron, had the same question. What's the difference between Westport whiskey brand versus the Old Hammer brand?
Yeah, so you want to think about the big boy, the big boys in the brand. Well, you have Old Hammer and Hugh Hamer, and we'll talk about that as we go too. But 2019 comes along.
Okay.
Our product, we can't, because we're selling so much. We have small scale production. We didn't have enough money, but we knew we needed to get from that 2-year-old product to a 4 to 6-year-old consistent product, right? At least, and with some longer term aging. And so we said, well, fuck, we can't just rip out all of the distribution day one, right? And not make money for 2 to 4 years. Because we were selling so much, we just couldn't ever keep enough back and still pay our bills at the time. And so he said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Right. We're all sitting around looking at each other, probably drinking, talking about good and bad ideas. And what we came up with, he was like, well, you know what? Other brands have done it. Why don't we resurrect a brand? Why don't we bring a brand to life, right? Like maybe one that hasn't been seen in a long time, right? And we'll see what's out there. And we just happen to be from this little area south of Bloomington, Indiana, where Indiana University is, called Bedford. That's where all the co-founders are from. There's a state park close called Spring Mill. And the whole damn thing is Hamer Cave, Hamer Distillery, Hamer Mill, Hamer everything, cemetery, everything, right? And so what we did was we knew they owned a distillery. We started doing a bunch of research on what the brands might have been called, who owned it, what the mash bills might have been. We could never really found the mash bill, even though we talked to some folks, who were connected to the family, multi-generation, right? This would have been the 1800s. And so we said, well, let's take a page out of Sazerac's book and all the big boys' book, and let's just resurrect a brand, the Hamer brand, right? And if we can find a mash bill out there that fits the story, which the story goes, when the Hamer family migrated from New York, southern Indiana, they basically bought an entire village. This would have been 1824. And so as part of that village back in the day, they weren't taking any cash, or when they were running a mill, and they weren't taking any cash or banknotes at the time from all the local farmers to mill their grains. What they were taking is excess grain, primarily corn. And so what else do you do with corn in the middle of the 1800s? You make booze out of it, right? Bad. You can't make money on it. And so the Hamer family was running a distillery in southern Indiana and shipping product as far south as New Orleans. And so some of the history books refer to it as the finest whiskey. And we said, all right, we know it's got to be primarily corn. We know it's got to have some barley in it, because they don't have the enzymes we have today. So it needed some barley for the enzymatic process, right, to actually ferment, make alcohol.
Correct.
And so we called them MGP, and we said, look, guys, I think you have this mash bill you don't really cultivate that much, but would you want to make a bunch? It's 90% corn bourbon. It's not their light. It's not light whiskey. It's actually bourbon. And they said, we're not really making it. We're thinking about killing it. How much do you guys want to buy? And I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll start small, right? We'll go from there, whatever. And we'll see if it's good. We'll see if we can actually make anything of this thing, and we'll go from there, kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So we just started buying up this 99% corn bourbon as much as we could, because it was paired nicely with the story. We say it's a modern version of what the Hamer family would have done. Because in the 1800s, I mean, look, guys, there wasn't really like bourbon like we think of it today. Yes, there was people making whiskey all over, right?
Sure,
Bourbon in Kentucky, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, this is a really cool product. No one's cultivating a 99% corn bourbon, and a lot of people love sweet.
Yep.
Whether they say that they don't or they do, right? A lot of people say they don't, but when you go to their go-to drinkers, they're probably sweet and high proof. And so we said, let's try to cultivate this thing, right? Let's see what it's like on a standalone mash bill. And so that's where the Hamer family came. We didn't want to put Source Juice under our West Fork line. And so West Fork owns Old Hamer, brought it back to life in 2019, started winning a bunch of awards for it since then. And so that's why we have two different lines of whiskey. We have our 99% corn sourced bourbon that's contract MGP to make, and then we have our West Fork whiskey grain to glass line.
Oh, okay. So that's the difference. So the Hamer brand is the source side, and the West Fork is pure your own whiskey.
Correct.
Love it. Makes complete sense. I think it's pretty cool. Wow. Okay. So that brings me to another question, and I should, by the way, give a huge shout out to my buddy Devon. Devon was supposed to be here with us tonight. Unfortunately, I did ship him his whiskey, but UPS decided to take it all around the world before it gets delivered to him, which I think he's actually going to get it delivered tomorrow or Wednesday. So sorry, Devon. We'll definitely have you on the next live stream, but you're definitely looking forward to some good whiskey, my friend. So cheers to you, man.
Share my contact with him. I'll get on a live stream just with him, just him and I, virtual, and we'll share a pour together.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. We'll do. Absolutely. Thank you. So you talked about, actually, let's go to the next whiskey, and then I'll ask the question I had. Where are we going next? Where are we going next, Blake?
So we're going Hugh Hamer Double Oak. So we're going from like a standard offering that's going to retail, like West Fork Ball and Blonde is going to be $40-$45. Okay. One of our things that really upsets us about craft, and I hope I don't piss anybody off. Well, I don't really care anymore, but is just the notion that because it's craft, it should be really expensive.
Yeah.
And so, we have to be a little bit more expensive. I don't have the scale quite as like Heaven Hill, right, or Sazerac, or name it.
Sure, of course.
But our bottle and bond is going to be, at our place, $50, but everywhere else you're going to find it's going to be $40 to $45. So not awful, right? Riff. Yeah. So solid price. Now this one you're getting into a premium line. So Hugh Hamer. When you ever, and this is some free advice if anybody out there actually owns a brand, because I know some people invested in these source brands, etc. When you go from a primary aging to a secondary aging, and you want to tell the government about it, right? Because they have to approve everything that we do.
Absolutely.
You then have to get multiple approvals, and you no longer can have a statement of age on your product. And so when we wanted to get into finishing that 99% corn bourbon and put a secondary barrel to it, they in the government's infinite wisdom decided, well, even though Old Hamer is your brand mark, it's a statement of age and you can't have it on the label. And so we said, well, shit, what the hell are we going to do? That's our brand we're building. Well, I guess we're going to have a line extension. What the hell are we going to call it? Well, Hugh Hamer was the patriarch of the family that owned the distillery. Owned basically the entire village in the 1800s, and we said, well, I guess we'll call the premium line, we'll name it after Hugh. And so we decided initially a few years ago to only do it by a single barrel for good customers. Okay. And initially when we launched the brand, you could only buy it if you had bought a single barrel of Old Hamer, and you could only buy it by the single barrel, and it was just a rotating selection of different finishes. So name it, finish, we've tried it. Okay. What we decided last year was to have a core lineup of 2 different releases that is our everyday small batch offerings, which is what we're trying to do. So the Hugh Hamer Double Oak is what we're now. So, dude, if you guys are just classic bourbon lovers, deep caramel, rich vanilla, oak, boom, this is it. And
Gil,
so
what do
bottle
you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Blake, you can finish. My apologies.
No, I would just say bottle at 103 proof, anywhere between 5 and 7 years in total age. 2 number 4 char barrel.
Oh, nice. Okay, I love those stats. I love that. Gil, and Mike, what are you guys thinking so far of this double oak?
So great. I haven't tasted it yet, but the nose is phenomenal. I mean, I'm getting that kind of deep oak. It's got kind of like there's almost not peat, but it's more smoky, kind of like the burnt aspect of like a marshmallow and a s'more, which kind of strays away from
number 4 char barrel.
So that's what
that smokiness. That's a good point, actually. I like that, Gil. That's a really good point. It does have like that smoky, kind of like a burnt, kind of like a brown sugar kind of a note to it. I like this a lot, actually, on the nose. And
we see burnt brown sugar, I think, on the back. I haven't read it in a while, but it's something like that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Charred oak, spicy, dark chocolate. I love that. That's so true. I love this. This is actually really nice. Mike, what do you think of this one so far, Mike?
Definitely caramel, vanilla. I mean, on the palate, I mean, basically you said traditional, bourbon. I mean, those are, what I look for a lot, that and some real good cherry notes, that kind of stuff. But this is really nice to sip on.
This is really nice. Age 5 to 7 years on average. I like this.
Yeah, 5 to 7 years. It all depends on that secondary aging. Sometimes we find the barrel. So we have at least 4 years in the initial aging in the number 4 char, and then anywhere between 6 months and 2 years in the secondary aging. It really just depends on how the barrel's developing. Bottle them at 103 proof. They're going to be 2 to 10 barrel blends. So really small batch. Because when the barrels are ready, they're ready. And if we decide, hey, the barrels aren't ready, we're not going to put them in a batch, right? And so if we need to just short ship or have a smaller batch that day, that's just what we're going to do.
I like that.
And this one's going to end up being, depending on the state you live in, anywhere between $55 and $65.
Okay, not bad at all for a 5 to 7 year age whiskey. 103 proof, which I think is a sweet spot personally for a whiskey, because it's a proof point that you want probably year round. Like, you don't mind it in the summer, you don't mind it like this time of year, like the fall. You can do it in the winter, you can even do it like in the summer. I mean, even in the spring as well. So it's a really good proof, if you will, also across the board. Very nice. This goes down very well.
And you said it's a high corn mash. So what's the
99% corn, 1% malt quality. So anytime you see Hamer, 99% corn, 1% malt quality.
Wow. Okay, that is good to know.
So for us, this is the one. It was named top 5 finished bourbon in the world at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition this year. Top 3 at the International Whiskey Competition. So. I mean, it's winning some good awards.
It is indeed. This is,
and so
really
we're going out to San Francisco in 2 weeks. Dark Arts has 2 offerings. In the top 5, we have 1, and then I forget who's the other one. But
you
it's
guys
the
are ready
only
to
one.
show up. You guys are ready. You're ready.
It's the only one sub $100. Only one sub 100.
That's the only one sub $100. That's crazy.
Everything else is $100 and $200.
This could definitely stand on its own. Have you ever thought about, and maybe it's here, so I don't want to say, no, it's not. Have you ever thought about doing a cask strength version of this?
When you buy single barrels, you can get the cask strength version.
You can buy the single barrels. Okay, that's good. I like that. All right, well, that might be on the judge's menu. We'll have to talk offline there.
Hit judge.
Offline. I like it. This is pretty. I mean, I like this a lot at 103. I can imagine just how rich and like unique it would be, even better at like cask strength. I love this. I mean, but I love the 103 by itself first and foremost, and I think this will be an incredible, elevated daily sipper, like something that is like very elevated from a daily sipper. Because a lot of people do love a double oak bourbon, and honestly, to me, when you said 99.1. I don't know about you guys, Mike and Gil, but like I wasn't thinking that even this was 99.1. I was thinking maybe like, I know high corn percentage, but I was thinking maybe like a 75, whatever else on the back end for the breakdown. Not 99% corn. It didn't taste like that.
No. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a 99% corn. I have to look back. I mean, it's
It's good.
Good.
It's just been blended in to some other companies.
Possibly.
No one cultivates it as a standalone.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
And Blake, you said that this was like a part of your premium lineup. Is that correct?
Yeah, anytime we get over $50, I just assume that's premium, right? For most folks, because one of our sticks are, right, we're trying to be as good a value prop as we can, right? I'm from Indiana, and folks think, down home, we're from Indiana, oh shucks, right? And so for us, like, we want to provide a hell of value at the right price.
Yeah,
I love that.
And so that's why you're gonna find this one typically around $55-$60, in addition to the rum finish, which is my favorite of the two.
Oh, really? Okay.
But we've never eclipsed $100 for a bottle.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
This would be a steal, by the way, for a single barrel. So,
a single barrel cask strength is going to cost you like $10 more at retail.
Yeah.
So
I mean, honestly, this is a steal.
$65, $70.
This is awesome. This is really, really good, man. That's exciting. That's really exciting. I like that a lot. Oh man. All right. That's Mike Gill. Let's just remember this one for our single barrel program. We have it. This is something to definitely think about for sure. That's awesome.
I got stars next to it in my notes here.
Yes,
well, before we go to the next one, I'm going to ask Mike about his Elijah Craig barrel proof I see on his cabinet. If that's a real cabinet, it might be a virtual background. I don't know these days.
It is a virtual background of my real cabinet. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right.
Damn.
So a lot of folks, I've got a bottle of Elijah Craig single barrel from a local store that is my personal liquor store in my back bar too. I fucking love it, right? It's great. It's got so much depth. It's got so much spice. It's great. It's usually 8 to 12 years old, depending on the single barrel you get. What I find though, when I talk to folks, and there's a reason why I'm telling this story, because it's leading into our next tasting.
Sure.
Okay.
Is they will not usually go for a second or third pour. Maybe that's because they're trying to control their alcohol content. They're right.
Okay.
I got to level myself when I'm drinking high proof bourbon. It also might be because it punches them in the face too much.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really like about this next pour, the Old Hamer cask strength. So this is 4 to 5 years old, 99% corn juice, is just the cherry sweet notes of it. So some people would find it a little bit too one-dimensional, but at cask strength, you get some nice depth to it, and usually cherry components. I think, like you said, you like cherry earlier. And what we find is when we talk to people who drink both is, I might have one Elijah Craig barrel proof in a night. I can have 2 or 3 of yours in a night because it's lighter, it's sweeter, it's easier to drink. And so for an everyday cask strength pour, this one's going to be $40, $50, depending on where you find it.
Okay. I love the pricing. I mean, across the board, you guys are very fair from a pricing standpoint. That's awesome, especially this day and age, because, let's be honest, right? There are a lot of brands out there that when you walk into a liquor store, it doesn't matter if it's a Total Wine or any other, larger chain store, you'll see a new brand and you're like, okay, I wonder what this brand is all about. And then you'll see the price point, and off the bat, you're like, you know what? I can't even take it seriously because you've never heard of the brand before, right? And they're asking like $180, $160, and you're like, you read the back, it might be like aged 5 years. Like, you're asking $150 for a 5-year aged bourbon? Like, come on, like that's just insane. So what I've had here, I mean, 3 bottles for $150. It's like a no-brainer, honestly.
And 3 very different whiskeys. Even though these last 2 are 99% corn, you're not going to get near as much depth, oak, or caramel, but what you're going to get is some nice citrus and cherry usually.
Oh, yeah. This one has a lot more like apple. Like, what do you think? To me, it has like a lot of like apple baking spices kind of in it. What do you think, Mike and Gil?
Yeah, I definitely get baking spices. Not sure on the apple. I don't know. I gotta
I kind of
go back.
We can't hear you, Gil. We lost you, buddy. Say it again.
Can y'all hear me?
There we go. Much better.
Okay. I think I'm on my phone. I think there's proximity issues, so I'll hold my head closer. But I definitely kind of get like almost an apple cider. Like a green apple cider. Kind of like, I don't know if you've had like the cinnamon applesauce, like green applesauce with some cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. I like the Sonata. And you're right. You
It's
should
just
sip this like the entire night also, because it doesn't have like that it's almost like the effect to it where like it's like, even though it's 100 and what is it, 115, 160?
115.
yeah. What bottle did we send you? The batches tend to be between 115 and 125. It just depends on the barrels we pick.
Back 115.4.
Okay.
115.4. Very nice.
So this is the one over the last few years that in the international whiskey competition, which is that one's a really cool one because they do everything blind. There's no comparative judging. There's no brands representative, right? Like some of these competitions, you have brand reps at the table, right? This one you can't talk. You can't. There's a standard judging sheet. It's just like, here's the criteria. Rate it. Don't talk to anybody about it. You do one at a time. Then you take that one away, and then you do the next one. Yeah. And so this one, thank you, Patrick. I would love that.
Great point, Patrick. Totally. No, he's right. I mean, Patrick is a very well experienced whiskey drinker, especially out of the state of Texas. So he knows his whiskey very well. And he's right. I mean, it's a good point.
We're trying to come to Texas right now.
Okay. Awesome. Where are you guys located, by the way? Like what, like distribution?
I mean, we're in
where can you find your products?
Okay. Indiana, Illinois, DC a little bit, but that's mainly to support some online stuff we do. Select ABC stores in Florida, but in the next 9 months we'll be full state Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida, and then I'm working. We're also in the Denver area, in Colorado, and if we're working on a few other ones, but those ones are guaranteed. Nice. And then we also, for folks who like it, you can buy it on our website now. So you can go to our website, add it to your cart, and it gets shipped to like 40 states.
That's awesome. Nice. That is awesome. Wow, you guys are growing distribution wise. All right, that's good, man. Pennsylvania, so I can go. The cool thing about Delaware is that we're only the size of like a nickel, but I can be in 4 states. Kind of like my buddy. Kind of like almost. I guess in a little way, kind of like Mike. Mike has to drive a little bit further than me, but for me personally, I can get to like 3 states in like 30 minutes. That's the only probably good thing about Delaware. So that's awesome. So I can get to PA and start to buy your products, in the stores, which is awesome. I like that. It's pretty cool.
So that'll be by July of next year. I don't know. I haven't heard from the distributor when it's going to happen. So we're with national in a bunch of states. So they haven't told me on the timing, but by July next year, we'll be full state in Pennsylvania.
Okay. So where in DC? Because I'm able to get down there pretty. I'm not far from DC.
The Bourbon Concierge, and I think that's Georgetown.
Yep. I'm familiar with them.
It's gonna be soon. Does Sealbox have a physical store, or is it just all online?
It's all online, but they have a big warehouse down. I've been to their warehouse when I just picked up stuff and everything like that. And then the Bourbon Concierge. I know Marcus has been there. You walk in that place, it's like, whoa. That's what they had. Unicorn upon.
So they actually have. I think they do. You have to go on our website.
I think so too. I believe so, Devon. Yeah, I think they ship to Washington. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, but you can go to their website. You just go directly to Westport website, and you can try to place an order from there.
If you just scroll through the products in the bottom right of every product, it should have a buy online feature, and then add it to your cart. Yeah. But yeah, ready to drink some more bourbon? Where are we going next? All right, so
I'm ready. You tell us. So we started with the Westport Wheated, then we moved over to the Double Oak.
The one we're going to next. So Gold Label. So that's we opened up. We went from our tasting room to downtown Indianapolis to this tourism facility on the north side of Indianapolis in a suburb where we could buy some land. And so this was a special batch of our wheated bourbon and high rye bourbons. That we bottled at cask strength. So I don't have it in front of me, so I can't, kind of review it. So I'll have to go off the top of my head here. It's the one that's yep. You got it. You got it.
Okay.
What's that one, Judge?
This is the straight bourbon whiskey cask strength, the Westport Whiskey Company.
Okay. The 119.5.
You got it. 119.5. That's it.
between 4 and 5 years, putting that batch for our second anniversary at our new location. We picked a special batch of barrels, threw them together. I think we made like, I don't know, 30 cases of 80 proof, 100 proof, and cask strength. So what we did was we just bottled it at different proofs to see what folks liked.
Okay.
And so when we were sending some samples out, I was like, well, this one's kind of fun. Let's see what they think about this one, right? Like,
yeah.
This one's weeded as well.
It's a combination of our high rye mash bill and weeded mash bill. So both bourbons.
Nice.
So it's the same weeded mash bill that you tried at Bottle and Bond, the Bottle and Bond weeded that we tried, but it's also a blend of our high rye. Our high rye is super unique. It's only 2 grains, 73% corn, 27% rye. The thing that I really like about this one is it's a caramel raisin bomb on the high rye mash bill side, and then you balance it with that like citrus kind of like fruit forward little wheat caramel, kind of like corn sweetness on the weeded, and so it makes a super interesting bourbon, especially at 119.5 proof.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't taste it with you guys, but I did blend the last 3 whiskeys together, so I guess I'll try this one.
There we go. Nothing wrong with that at all. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, that's good too. That's unique. That's really different.
Yeah.
Like it has like a, what is that in the background? The back of the palate, it has something. What is that note?
Getting a little vanilla, like a coffee or brulee or something like that in the back end.
Yes, it's
And
almost
I get that with a lot of rice.
Yeah, it has like a coffee, right? Almost like a coffee kind of a note. Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I was.
That's weird.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Gil. You're fine. No, I like this. This is different.
Yeah, I was gonna. You were saying coffee, and I was kind of thinking along the lines of what Mike was saying. I was thinking of like, not coffee creamer, but like the cream on top of a latte, like with like
yes,
honey or something.
Yes,
like a light sweet.
Exactly. I like this a lot. This is very nice.
Yeah, great mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's a cool blend.
7327, was that right? 7327?
Well, it's a blend of barrels between our weeded mash bill and our high rye mash bill. So we blended those barrels together for the first time to make a custom batch for the 2-year anniversary of our new facility, that Westfield, Indiana facility.
That's awesome.
What was the wheat mash bill?
The wheat mash bill is 73, 17, 10. So 73 corn, 17% wheat, and the rest rye. So there is still some rye in there.
Some rye, okay.
That's nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
This might be. This is my favorite so far from your brand. You know, I know this is the other brand, but this is really damn good. I like this a lot. Big time.
I think folks, if you've known us for a while, you know, you've seen the progression of what we're going to be. You know, folks like you guys who are new to the brand, you're catching us when we're hitting a stride. We got some really good barrels coming up that are our own distillate at 5 years old. We got some really cool stuff coming.
That is awesome. So I got to ask the question because I was wondering this when think about even like my own journey. Not that I'm going to start a brand, but if I ever did, how is it owning a brand with your brother and your best friend? Like who wins, right? When you're like, you know what? Let's do X, Y, and Z mash bill, or I want to increase production, or whatever the thought process is for that day, or the subject might be for that day. Who wins that battle? Is it Blake? Is it your brother or your best friend? How do you guys divide that?
Well, so little hierarchy and everything, right?
Yep.
So a couple things before I say anything. I'm the youngest of the 3 of us. My childhood best friend is about a year older than me. My brother is 4 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
And the way everyone came about is I'm more of like my background's in corporate banking. I'm a finance guy, undergrad in finance, MBA in finance.
Okay.
My business partner, lawyer, consultant, also some banking experience. And then my brother is the science guy, right? And so that's how we kind of all came together. Like compliance guy, operations guy with the consultant, right? Finance strategy sales guy over here, technical guy over here, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And with how the money ended up and how we got started, my best friend and I are co-CEOs.
Okay.
So, I hate to pull rank. We never try to do that.
Yeah, of course not. Of course.
Just where the company is. But when it comes to mash bills and production, we share bourbon together until we get consensus. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, we all kind of like the same thing. We all agree with our strategy. We know there's going to be ups and downs in our strategy as we cultivate and make mistakes, because some of our test batches, like, we got to wait 4 years to decide to do it again. Like, we've got a certain, in the Midwest, people think about corn and agricultural companies. Well, we're blessed with some of the most scientifically backed, corn production in the world in Indiana, with some of the worldwide leaders. And so we've got some test batches of some corn that would be specifically grown for us, but it takes 4 years to know if it's any good to decide if we want to do it again. So, and so we share bourbon together. We say, hey, what kind of products do we want to make? How do we want to make them? And then if we don't all agree, we don't do it. And if we all agree, we do it. And of course, sometimes there's rank.
I'm with you. That's awesome. That's cool. I was just thinking about that. Like, if you started a business like with your best friend, your brother, like, how do you deal with those challenging situations? Like, we should do X, Y, and Z mash bill. No, we shouldn't.
I'm only really kind of laughing because there was a dust up today. See, you asked that question on a day where, of course it happens, right? I mean, we're passionate about it.
Yep. Sorry. All right. Well, let's go cut and we'll move on. All right. Listen, I'm interested in trying this. Tell us about, if you don't mind, Blake, this rum finish, and then we can finish with the true, I think, just like the dessert, which, by the way, I dipped into the other day. Dessert. We had French toast. My daughter made French toast for dinner. She's a big cook. My kid, I love her, my daughter, and we had French toast for dinner. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have this French toast infused bourbon that West Fork has. So we'll finish with that one. But let's go to this rum.
It tastes like French toast, doesn't it? It's fucking cool.
It does taste like French toast. It does. It goes great with food. It goes fantastic with food. Next time
I hate flavored bourbon, but we'll get there.
My French toast in it. So all right.
So the rum finish. So most people, when they think about rum finish, obviously the biggest, most popular one for a while was the Angel's Envy Rye, right?
Yes.
Well, yes. They may sue me for this. They can contact my lawyer. You guys think? Let me ask you this: have you ever tasted a product be that sweet without artificial sweeteners, or natural sweeteners?
I don't know. What about you guys? I'll let Gil go first. Gil or Mike.
You ever tasted a rye that sweet, or a finished bourbon that sweet?
As sweet as
Angel's Envy
Rye.
So I've never had Angel's Envy Rye.
I've never had their rye either. So
I've had it before, and I will say it's quite sweet for sure. It is.
All right, so I'm just going to leave that there because I think you know where I'm going with that question.
I gotcha.
And so I really like kind of cool rums, right? Or like really aged tequilas. I think it's super unique. I think it's like bourbon. I think it's awesome, right? There's an art to it. There's always something different, et cetera. And so when we were experimenting, when I mentioned earlier, you could only get Hugh Hamer by the single barrel when we first started doing this finished product. And so we were like, hey, let's experiment with everything. Longest experiment, Chardonnay finished, fucking shit, never seen the light of day. It's now triple oak back into a bourbon barrel. It's getting fantastic. It's damn near 8 years old now. It's great now, but man, 2 years in a Chardonnay barrel, it got worse and worse and worse, right? So we were experimenting with everything. Think of a finish, we were putting it back, and I don't know what's going to happen, right? Because we're young, we've never done this before. Let's figure it out. And so when we were figuring it out, we were getting these rum barrels from Cruzan, and damn, man, they were really good. And they had this sweet spice with some extra viscosity to it, coupled with that 99% corn bourbon, added an extra element, an extra layer of depth. And so, honestly, you asked about rank. Well, what are we going to do if we're going to have a core lineup of finished bourbons? What are they going to be? Well, double oak. Okay, fine. Woodford's category leader. Don't care. That's great. Let's have a double oak. People love double oaks, right? And if they like a sweeter one, this one's for them. And then from there, what's a category of a standard finished bourbon that people can buy in every day that's not crazy priced, right? But it's still going to be unique.
Yep.
Well, there's not a lot of rum finished bourbons out there. I mean, there are, right? But it's single barrels are really small, right? Like us. And so and
mostly rye.
Really cool.
You mostly see the rye finish with the rum. So this is pretty cool to see the bourbon because there's not a lot out there. You're right. I saw this. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Can't wait to taste it.
So it's primarily Cruzan rum barrels. We've tried other brands. They're just not as good with our bourbon. I don't care if you like Cruzan or not. This is what does best with our bourbon, so that's what we do, right?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask Gil and Mike, how are you guys with like for me personally, I'm a big finished, I'll say whiskey person because I love bourbons and rye finished. I don't care if it's, rum or cognac or sherry or port, whatever it is, right? I'm a big whiskey finished person in general. What about you guys, like personally from your palates? Are you like, outside of like, Hammer or West Fork in general, are you guys big finished whiskey fans like bourbon or rye or no?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I mean, one of my favorites are, double oaks are finished bourbons, right?
Yeah, sure.
Double oaks are some of my favorites. Anything finished in like some sort of fruit-based spirit, like something finished in brandy, something finished in a wine barrel, those tend to be way more hit or miss for me.
Hit or miss, okay.
But double oaks for sure. I've had some like Old Forester rum finish. Is decent to my palate. Yeah, so it really just depends on the finish.
Okay, so it kind of depends for you. That's cool, Gil. What about you, Mike? What are your thoughts on just finished whiskeys, bourbon or rye in general?
I mean, more on the bourbon side. I've had a few. I'm very close to Bowman, so we get the Virginia ABC, their port finished one is on the shelf. So I've had that a lot, and I thought that was a great finished type bourbon and everything like that. I haven't delved into them a whole lot, a little bit here and there, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had I don't know if I've ever had any specific rum finished ones. At least not that I can recall. But definitely more.
So while we're tasting this one before you guys say anything, he said wine finish. How do you guys like port and wine finish? Like, be honest with me here, because I got a strong opinion. I want to hear yours.
I'll let you go first, Gil. Go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just respond to that by saying, early on in my bourbon career, I went out and bought a Midwinter's Night Dram when it dropped at my store because everybody raved about it, and I cracked that thing open. And I just realized that I had wasted $180.
I love it.
That is my own opinion. I know I'll probably get some slack for that.
No. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree with you.
I'll jump in and I'll let Mike go next after that. How about that? I think a port finish can be done either. Let me put it this way. A lot of finishes, I think, is
or wine, like cab, just wine finishes.
Yeah, or wine in general. I think it's easier to get it wrong than it is to get it right. That's probably the better way of saying it, right? I think it's much easier to get it wrong than this.
Way to say it.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I've had some that I think are excellent, and I love them. I really do because I love finishes, but I also love straight bourbon, just straight uncut, unfiltered. No watering down, nothing at all. But I've had some that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is done like horrible, and very similar to Gil, where I'm like, you know what, I wasted not 180, but like $110, $120. I'm like, damn it, I wasted this money. So it could be either good or bad. It just depends on who's doing it and how they have went through that process. So it's definitely hard to do. But over to you, Mike. Let me see what your thoughts on like finished whiskeys in general, and more like on the wine side.
I mean, on the wine side, other than the Bowman, I do have a Dark Arch that is finished that I've sampled. It was a barrel pick by one of the local liquor stores that was really, really good. And I made the decision to make the purchase from sampling it. But other than those two, I don't really have a whole lot that's, say, quote unquote wine or port or a wine finished type of a bourbon.
Got it. Well, what's your thoughts, Blake? What do you think, Blake, about finish in general?
People don't really like them. I don't really like them. it dries it out even more than it already is. It almost fights the experience most of the time and says compliment Marcus. I think you said it best. Like, you can do them well. Absolutely. I'm not saying right. But I would say more often than not, it's a gimmick and it's not a compliment to the bourbon to create something unique and different. It's more of just a gimmick to sell product. I mean, we have some, like, I was just grabbing it out of my bag. This is a cab finish. Like, you either love it or hate it is what I tell people. Like, we've got some great brandy finishes going. I heard you, Gil. I need to send you our apple, and we have an apple brandy finish, and a cherry brandy finish, and a peach brandy. Those things are fucking bomb in the summer. It's not like Crown, right? It's not all that bullshit. They're really good. Anyway, people either love them or hate them.
That's true. That is true. And I would say also a lot of times, like, for me, and everyone's different, right? I'm not saying everyone on here are big cigar smokers, but like for me, I also like a finished bourbon if I'm smoking a cigar, because I'll go back to your earlier point. The last thing I want, I'm a cigar smoker. I love cigars, right? But the last thing I want to do, I don't care if it's I don't care if it's like, freezing outside. I do not want to sip an Elijah Craig barrel proof bourbon and smoke a cigar. That's going to just like burn, it's just that's just a horrible experience. I'd much rather have a subdued finished whiskey, right? Then I'm like, all right, this is cool. It's kind of sweet, it's not pure bourbon, if you will, right? But it's at least somewhat kind of, decent, if you will. So that's kind of like my take on it as well. If I'm pairing it with a cigar, I should say. So, but this rum, though, I'm actually gonna pour some more of this.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
This is
rum
nice.
finish is good.
Yeah,
I like this rum finish a lot, actually. Very nice. I get a nice little kind of like a sugarcane note on the back of the palate. This is really nice.
And that's a high corn as well, right? Because it's a hammer. Okay.
Yep, 99% corn.
Yep.
And then this one takes usually a little longer. It's usually no less than a year, usually almost 2 in that secondary aging barrel. And again, I had a leading question earlier when it came to another brand. We're not doing anything to manipulate it other than putting it in another barrel and letting it age.
Yeah.
So Blake, when I knew I was coming on with the judge tonight, one of my other Discord group that I'm in, I was talking to some guys and asked them if they ever had your brand, and one of the guys sent me I guess it was their singular series, Barrel 1 and Barrel 2, that he said were absolutely phenomenal. Like, they're higher proof. Looks like 129 and a 135 proof. So Is that something that you guys, is that a specialty thing that you guys do, or is that something?
Yeah, I mean, that came from Rural Inn. If you know anything about the Midwest retail market, I mean, you're talking about maybe the most influential account.
Yep, you say it says Rural Inn on there. Yep, I'm looking at the labels. And
it's a like people from all over, we're in Indianapolis. We're within 2 to 3 hours of a bunch of major cities, right? Yep. Chicago, Columbus, Cincinnati, Louisville, etc. Right? People, if they come to Indianapolis hunting bourbon, you're not going to find unicorns there. I mean, you can, right? If you're part of his deal. But what you find there are really, really good single barrel picks and a loyal following. And so whenever I have something super unique that's super limited, yes, I let some other retailers have it too. But if it's like, I don't know what to do with this barrel, I call him. Yeah. And and so Ray and I, who owns that store, we initially he's like, I don't know who these jokers are, right? And then over the last handful of years, he's like, all right, they're legit, they're doing cool things. Like, I'm supportive now, right? Like, he gets it now. It took a while. He'll admit that too. But I had some really, really unique barrels, and that everyone has, right? I mean, it happens.
Oh yeah.
And I said, what the hell am I going to do with these? They need to be called something unique to know that they may never happen again. I hope they do.
Yeah.
And may not.
Absolutely.
And that's why we call them the singular series, is because I have no fucking idea if it's going to happen again. And they are really, really damn good.
Wow. So, Mike, you got this from you said one of your buddies in like one of your whiskey groups?
Yeah, one of the groups that I'm in. I've never had them, but he sent me a picture. He goes, oh yeah, and I sent him the list of what we were sampling, and he was telling me, he goes, probably, I gotta look back at the message, but As far as he said, probably the first. I think he said the one on the top, which was the cash strength small batch, was probably going to be closest to what those were and everything like that.
That's definitely closest. I mean,
yeah,
I think you guys are getting to know me a little bit over this last hour. Drink a bourbon. I'm pretty straightforward, and so if we're going to say something that like is on the label about like what it is or what it isn't, right?
I like that.
That's why we call it a singular series. We didn't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh
next, right? That's how
awesome.
we put it on the label.
That's awesome. That's cool. No, I love the fact that you guys are number one, straightforward. I think that helps a lot because there's so many, like you said earlier, right? No matter if it's like a finish, and a lot of companies will put forward a finished product just because it's gimmicky and they're trying to cover up like the crappiness of the whiskey, right? So that's number one. You guys are very straightforward. I do love that. I love the price point. I think Devon, and I know Patrick was on earlier. Patrick mentioned that, like he loved like the price point. That's very fair as well. I mean, we've tasted through some really solid products. Some finished like the rum here. Some just like straight up like products like these two, and then this one as well. All really unique, very cool and different, but also very at good price points, right? So a lot of people want to try something different. It's cool to try something different at 40, 50, 60, even for this one, like a single barrel, which we will be looking into, by the way, very soon. Plus $10, $70. That's awesome. I mean, that is awesome. Like, that's what excites me about being able to bring like this, like to my community, even at $70. That's very fair this day and age for a really good product. So that's awesome, Blake. I love that, man.
And guys, I got families. I got bills to pay just like you guys. Like, I want to drink a lot of bourbon.
Yeah.
I don't like not being able to afford bourbon. Like, this is one thing we did a few years ago. People said, you can probably charge more for your product. And I remember having this conversation distinctly with one of my investors. I said, well, sure, we can take more when the market's great. But when the market is turned, like it has now, and a lot of people are struggling, big, small, medium brands, everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Who's going to still be there? And it's going to be the brands who are comfortable with the margin at that price point, who have made decent products and are honest with consumers. And I said, at some point, it's going to turn. And I don't know if it's now or in 5 to 10 years, but we're in this for the long haul. We're trying to position the company for the long haul. And when we find a consumer that identifies with us, we want to feel good about buying it, drinking it, and buying it again, instead of buying it, putting on their back bar, and never buying it again.
Yep.
And so if I'm not going to buy it for the money I'm going to put it on the shelf for, I would never expect anybody else to buy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I will say for me, I'm ready for the dessert, if you will, right? I mean, every good meal ends with a good dessert. So I love how we did this. So shout out to my man, Blake. And then at the end, I'm going to let Gil as well as Mike, I want to go around and find out what was your favorite pour for tonight. I have two that I am in love with, but I'm going to hold off and let you guys tell me your one or two that you guys love. But let's go to dessert. So are we going over to I think it's called Frenchie?
Frenchies. So
yes.
French toast flavored bourbon. I don't have it in front of me. But this one's really cool. Like, look, guys, this community is probably not flavored bourbon people. You've probably done shots of Fireball with your friends. Right. But that's about it. And, we're always trying to grow, get a new consumer. And where we are in Indianapolis and our tourism facilities right next to the street to the largest amateur sports complex in the country. Or at least when it was built. It sees 5 million people a year, more than Disney and ESPN's deal in Orlando. It's ridiculous. If you're in the Midwest and you have amateur, like kids playing sports, you're going to this place. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And we said, well, these women are coming in. These people who don't like bourbon are coming in. We got to capture another audience, right? And we don't have a flavor product. We need to diversify, right? And so we hate them. Like when I'm working with our lab, working with our team, like, what are we going to do? I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to try any of these damn things. All of them suck. So we're like going around to our staff, going around to anybody like, you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? And this one like tasted like French toast. It was not originally supposed to be French toast, but then we honed it in and we were like, this is actually kind of good. It's bourbon and then it's French toast. Like, it's kind of fun. Yeah. And
maple sugar French toast. I just took a sip. Oh my goodness! It's something This is something, yes, that my wife, who does not drink bourbon, would probably sip on.
That's exactly
100%.
nail head hit. You know, so
Yes.
honestly, like straight up, right? I mean, part of my whole thing, Blake, like you, I always keep it real, right? If I'm sipping whiskey with my buddies, yes, no offense, I'm not bringing this bottle out. But with my wife and what I did the other night at dinner when we had my daughter made French toast at dinner. And my daughter knows her dad's a big whiskey guy, obviously, with the channel and so forth. I brought this bottle out. I was like, let me try this. And it goes damn good with, well, I mean, for that it was breakfast for dinner, but it was really like dessert for dinner, right? It goes great with food, you know? I mean, it's awesome with food. So with cooking and sipping it as like a dessert, kind of a bourbon experience, absolutely. And then to your point, Mike, yeah, I could totally see how like your wife might like it. You know, I think Mrs. Judge, she tried it as well. She's like, okay, this is the kind of bourbon I would like to try once more, like, a little bit more often. So, you know, so it totally makes sense for sure. You gotta have something for everyone. I think that's the most important thing, right? It's a little bit of something for everyone. So that's awesome.
Yes.
I like that. That's really cool. Really cool.
At some point, I gotta pay my bills, right? So I gotta keep trying to find new products to identify with the right people, and
Absolutely.
and so this one's a cool one. We're using over 2-year-old juice, right? So it's real straight bourbon in it, and you know, it tastes fucking good. I hate to say it, like yes, it's not gonna be my everyday sipper, but if I'm shooting a flavored bourbon, it's not artificial. It's natural flavorings.
It is okay.
So it's kind of a fun shooter for people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
I would take this over Fireball Shot any day of the week.
Any day.
Well said,
Gil. Yeah, not even close. Literally, not even close. Well said, Gil. All right, I know I've taken you up too much. Your family's not feeling well, Blake. I know your girls are not doing well. So, and you got 2 little ones at home also. So you're a busy man.
I'm feeling great.
I want to wrap it up. Yeah, that's good. I want to say, number one, thank you, by the way, Blake. Thank you for your time tonight. Really did appreciate you coming on, learning a lot about West Fork, you know, for us, myself, Gil, you know, and Mike as well. Also learning a little bit more about the whole Hamer brand, the similarities, the differences, a lot about your company. But I want to end it in a very unique way. So, Gil, I'm going to turn over to you. Pick 1 or 2. What was your favorite whiskey today? 1 or 2 of them.
All right. So I've got a tie, and I'm sort of going back on my word, saying that finished bourbons are hit or miss. But my tie is the Hugh Hamer double oaked, and then the Hugh Hamer rum finish. I thought those both were phenomenal. I can't pick one or the other.
You changed it up. All right.
Yeah.
I like that. Congrats. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. So the rum and the double oak. Okay, good stuff. I like that, Gil. Thank you, sir. How about you, Mike? Let us know. What are 1 of your 2 of your favorite pours tonight?
So I'm kind of similar to Gil. I'm going to go definitely kind of 2 that are probably right up there in tie. So the rum finish, which is unique, it just has it hits in all notes there. It's just something that you don't normally have. It definitely has a unique flavor to it. And instead of the double oak, I like the the cask strength, the old Hamer cask strength.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow. Very nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna be similar to you guys, yet different at the same time. So what's similar is I think Gil said it. I think this old Hamer double oaked is really, really good. Probably one of my favorites tonight by far. I'll say I like them both equally. This is my number 1A or 1B, whichever way you want to call it. But my second number 1, equally like 50%, right here. West Fork Whiskey Company, straight bourbon whiskey, cask strength, small batch. This I think is legit. And I mean straight up legit. I like this a lot. And I figure I have to pour one to end the night to kind of do a little cheers. And I'm going to go with the West Fork straight bourbon whiskey cask strength as my finale pour of the night. This is, I think, amazing. I love the two blend combination as well, by the way, Blake. I thought that was very unique. But honestly, I'm very impressed. I mean, for a brand I have prior to tonight, you know, and I guess I should say prior to probably like late July, had never heard of until I was in Kentucky, snooping around, looking at different liquor stores and different bars and restaurants. And I saw this brand. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I am, man. I am for sure. So
yeah, I mean, guys, if you like bourbon, you're gonna find something you like out of our line. It might be the West Fork, it might be the old Hugh Hamer lines, and it might be your wife having the French toast. And I really like where we are right now. I think you're hitting us. Hold on. What bottle would you recommend trying first if you never had tried West Fork? Well, it depends on what kind of bourbon you like. Like when people come in, I always ask them what their everyday drinkers are. And so, it always depends on what your everyday drink. Do you like sweet? Do you like spicy? Do you like rye? Do you like wheat? Do you like high proof? Do you like low proof? Right? Like I'm all about finding the right fit for the right person.
So I'm going to tell Winslow and Patrick. They're together. They're a couple. I'm going to tell Winslow. If you're asking me, Winslow, because I know you. So Winslow used to live, and Patrick, in Delaware. They moved back to Texas, where they're from, or at least where Winslow's from. So I'm going to recommend for you, Winslow, because I know you very well. Try the two that I like, because your palate, in my opinion, from our conversations, is very similar to mine. Try these two. If you're going online to West Fork and buying a couple bottles, I would buy this bottle here, which is the
that bottle is not available online. Only available.
Oh, it's not.
Location. But the Hugh Hamer Double Oak is.
All right, try the Hugh Hamer Double Oak, and what I'll do is, Winslow, I will send you and Patrick a sample of this. Is that cool? So I'll send you a sample of this, but because you can't buy it online, but buy this one here, the Old Hammer or Hugh Hamer Double Oak. So that would be my recommendation for sure. That would be my recommendation. But the next time this one's available, try this one as well. But I'll send you a sample of it for sure. I'll send you a sample.
And guys, I know why we're winding down. This is invaluable for me as a brand owner. So thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you to Marcus, Gil, Mike. I mean, hearing your feedback. I mean, look, guys, we're putting our ass on the line every day to make great bourbon. We know there's ups and downs in the process and our story, and without folks telling us what they think, like I can't get better, right? And so thank you guys so much for having me and taking the time to drink with me tonight. This was awesome after a long day today. So thank you guys so much. From the bottom of my heart, I'm dead serious.
We appreciate you, Blake. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, coming into this year, not knowing the brand, wondering, okay, well, am I going to like something? Am I not going to like something? I mean, I haven't had anything tonight that I would say I would never buy or anything like that. I mean, nothing was hateful or anything like that. I mean, and I might have found something that my wife would actually drink. So I don't know. I know she's sleeping right now, so I will not be waking her up. Otherwise, I'll be having a bad night. But
same, my wife is too.
Yeah,
that's right.
But I will have her get a sniff of this here tomorrow and have her take a sip and see what she thinks.
Yeah, Blake, along the same lines, invaluable as a consumer to put a face to a brand and understand a bit more what you guys are about and what you guys are doing. I think the price point thing alone, and like especially in today's macroeconomic environment, not like nobody's going to break out a $200 bottle to share on a casual weekend with a buddy, but your product, maybe they will, just the price point alone, not to mention the quality. So thank you again for being here and speaking with us.
Well,
I appreciate you. And one more time, I was talking to, I don't know if anybody's from the Midwest or knows Sun King Brewing. They're one of our biggest breweries. They've won that brewery in the country a couple times the last 10 years, but great brewery. Right now, if you guys want your local distilleries and local breweries to survive and thrive, buy that pint, right? Instead of that big brand pint, right? Those guys are going to be here. We're fortunate. We're in a great spot right now. We're growing like crazy. We're going to grow over the next couple of years, but not everybody is. So be conscious of that, right? When you're out in the market, like if you guys like a product, it makes a difference buying that bottle over Old Forester or Maker's Mark. And I love their products. Don't get me wrong. I drink them. I love them. But just keep that in mind when you're out there.
Absolutely. I think that is thank you for saying that, by the way. I think, for me, and that's part of the reason, honestly, why I also, like, when Alex reached out, I wanted to have you on the channel, because for me, when I think about the future of our business, to me, your Four Roses, your Old Foresters, they're always going to be around, right? They are your Amazons of the whiskey, right? But the heart of the whiskey, what really kind of keeps it reinventing and so forth on a day-to-day basis,
and pushes them to reinvent.
Yes. It's the craft distilleries. It's you guys. It's you. It's the other craft distilleries that are out there. So yeah, like what Gil said, just keep producing great whiskey at a great price point. And hey, we're here to support for sure. Definitely here to support. So cheers to you, Blake, Gil, Mike. Thank you, gentlemen, as well. Devon, we miss you tonight, Devon, but we're gonna blame Brown UPS. But the next time we'll have you on, Devon, for sure.
If his smile's anything like that picture, he's got a phenomenal smile.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Indeed. All right,
Cheers,
gentlemen.
boys.
Cheers to a great
Appreciate
night,
your
guys.
time.
Thank you guys so much.
Yep,
Take
thank
care.
you.
Thanks everyone for watching tonight. Cheers, everyone. See you guys.
Bye.